They're demanding I tear down everything I've built. I remember staring at that official-looking document two guys shoved into my hands. These guys said they represented the neighborhood, but their only badge was a smug attitude and matching polo shirts. My crime. Painting. My $45,000 cabin restoration vintage blue instead of whatever shade of beige their standards committee had decided was neutral enough not to offend passing clouds. But trust me, that was just the first round in a suburban nightmare that went from nasty letters to property sabotage to something way, way darker. The ringleader behind it all was this woman, Chloe Thompson, who acted like she'd been granted absolute power over my life, my house, even the shade of sky above my roof. It was hard to tell if her power was real or if she was just making it all up. Ever met someone who used fake authority to control your life? Yeah, drop your story down below, because what happened next is the kind of thing you can't make up. 48 hours before that letter, I was rolling vintage blue paint across the worn cedar siding of my cabin, just loving every second, totally clueless that I was about to start a war. The brush felt good in my hand, turning tired gray wood into something that actually looked like home. I got this place for 45 grand, which is a steal even if you think fixer-uppers are for fools. Sunlight was slanting through oak trees, shadows dancing on my yard, and for the first time in months, I actually felt hopeful. See, this wasn't some cookie-cutter subdivision. The houses had been built in different decades, mature maples lined the street, and every property looked like someone's life had happened there, not like it got assembled by a robot in a day. My cabin's not big, maybe 800 square feet, but it had these hand-hewn ceiling beams, hardwood floors hiding under tired carpet, and windows that caught the sun just right. The porch stretched all the way across cedar posts, begging to be stripped down to the natural wood. And right across the street, like some kind of suburban monument, was Chloe's mansion. 4,000 square feet of gleaming white, perfect landscaping, imported Japanese maples, sprinkler system ticking off at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., rain or shine, you get the idea. Her place was the opposite of mine. Where I saw potential, she saw threat. Where I thought community, she saw property values. Deep down, I knew the money gap was going to cause trouble. I was cleaning my brush when Chloe showed up, heels clicking, folder tucked under her arm like a weapon. Blonde hair shellacked into place gloves that somehow stayed white even in a construction zone. She smiled the way salespeople do, all teeth and no warmth, and scanned my property like she was deciding what to bulldoze. "Excuse me," she said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I'm Chloe Thompson, president of the Homeowners Association. We need to discuss your color choice immediately." That immediately was all threat, no neighborly concern. She stood just far enough back to avoid my paint-stained hands, just close enough to make it clear she was the boss. "Nice to meet you, Chloe," I said, setting my brush down. "I didn't know there were color restrictions here. Can you show me where that's written?" For a split second, her face flickered. Then she fished out a paper from her folder, looked official, but there was hardly anything on it. "I can send you the specific guidelines," she replied, her tone like a customer service rep who's about to hang up. Meanwhile, behind her, I caught the glint of sunlight on a black SUV parked way too long. Was that a camera? Maybe I was being paranoid, or maybe this place really did operate like a surveillance hive. While she droned on about community standards, something caught my eye. The inspection sticker on my meter box was upside down, not crooked, totally reversed. I've worked enough around construction to know inspectors don't just slap those on willy-nilly. Someone had pulled it off and stuck it back wrong, which meant someone had been inside my property while I was gone. Fresh chalk marks on the sidewalk near my meter too, the kind utility workers use. But those weren't there earlier. In that moment, I realized someone was conducting recon on my cabin in broad daylight. Sure, nobody would stop them. My heart pounded, but my face stayed neutral. Chloe talked about neighborhood harmony, but her real message was, watch your back. As she wrapped up her monologue, she made a call just loud enough for me to hear. "Jake, we have a situation at the new cabin. Time for an official visit." Then she turned back with a smug look. "You'll be hearing from our compliance contractor within 24 hours. I hope you'll be reasonable." While she was talking, I noticed blue paint staining her perfect glove from my gate, still tacky from that morning. When she realized I'd spotted it, she yanked her hands behind her back, but the evidence was there. That night, I documented everything: the chalk marks, the sticker, her glove, like a detective. I took photos, measured distances, wrote out timelines. That's just what you do when your instincts scream that you're about to need proof. I barely slept. Around 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of someone walking across my roof. Not an animal, actual footsteps, steady and heavy. I crept to the window. A shadow flicked a flashlight checking the roof line. I snapped on the porch light and they froze, then vanished. At dawn, I checked the roof. 12 bolts had been loosened, just enough so the next storm could rip the panels off. Every bolt showed fresh tool marks. I stood up there looking down at Chloe's pristine fortress and shivered. This was no ordinary HOA drama. This was psychological warfare. At 6 a.m., there were 3 sharp knocks on my door. Enter Jake Morrison, big guy, flannel vest, clipboard, but no real authority in his voice. He kept glancing at my doorbell cam, shifting like he wanted out. "Are you Luke Evans? I'm here to do a violation inspection." He sounded like he was reading from someone else's script. "You're in violation of Section 6.2 regarding unauthorized modifications." I asked to see proof there even was an architectural review board. Jake fumbled through blank pages and generic forms. "I'm just following the contract. Mrs. Thompson hired me. I don't really know about the legal stuff." He seemed ashamed, glancing over at Chloe's house. "Look, I have to document your paint, but I won't sign anything. I don't have that kind of authority." His discomfort was obvious. Before he could finish, Chloe swept over new outfit, new attitude, black marker in hand. She walked right up to my window and wrote in huge block letters, "Violation 72 hours to comply or face enforcement." Yeah, on my window in black ink, like she was the sheriff of the Wild West. Jake looked sick, even took photos himself, but Chloe stared him down. "You're being paid to document, not question." As soon as they left, the old lady from across the street waved me over. "I'm Dorothy Williams," she said, smiling. "Come by for coffee. There's some things you need to know about this place." Dorothy's kitchen was warm and cluttered, every inch layered in memories. Over mismatched mugs, she filled me in. Chloe had been terrorizing the neighborhood for 2 years. Turns out Chloe's not just playing president for fun. She's a realtor with 3 homes for sale, desperate to sell before her divorce. My cabin threatened her curb appeal, so she turned up the heat. And Jake? His family was drowning in medical bills. Chloe paid him cash off the books to do jobs that a real HOA would never touch. Suddenly, Jake's discomfort made a lot more sense. That night I put up cameras, motion lights, everything. But even as I watched the feeds, I knew it was going to get worse. Sure enough, 2 a.m., something hummed inside my walls. The irrigation pump roared to life. Panel pried open, wires slashed. Camera feed dead. Whoever broke in wanted me to see they'd been there. I couldn't sleep. Every creak sounded like a warning. Next day, my cabin got hit in waves. Primer dumped down the siding, footprints in the paint, deep rake scratches on the hidden side, city workers with no work order cutting my power for a test. Dorothy showed up looking scared. "Meet me at the coffee shop. What I know will change everything." That's where she dropped the bomb. Chloe wasn't even the real HOA president. The real president, Margaret, moved to Florida months ago. Chloe just stepped in, forged documents, and bullied everyone into compliance. Most people hadn't even agreed to join the HOA. Armed with the real records, I headed home, only to find Chloe waiting, cookies in hand, mask of sweetness. "Maybe we got off on the wrong foot," she cooed. But I wasn't buying it. I called her out. No real authority, no election, no rights to anything. That mask dropped fast. "You've been talking to Dorothy. She'd better learn to mind her own business." I kept my voice steady, but she stalked off, leaving a threat hanging. By this time tomorrow, the neighborhood will correct itself. That night, I watched Dorothy's routine walk and saw Chloe intercept her. Dorothy fell hard, her head cracking on the sidewalk. Blood pooled. Chloe, phone in hand, played the innocent, but everyone could see what had happened. At the hospital, Dorothy had a concussion and amnesia for the hours before her accident. Without her testimony, my case collapsed. My phone rang late at night. Stop investigating or you'll get hurt. Mailbox smashed, garbage stuffed inside insurance, suddenly investigating fraud, neighbors eyeing me with suspicion. Chloe had flipped the script, painting me as the problem. I hit bottom, drowning bourbon, and rage called Chloe to threaten her with the truth. She was calm, collected, and recorded the call. Next day, I got the official denial, my water damage claim under review for suspected fraud. But here's the twist. Jake reached out, wanted to meet somewhere safe. At a truck stop diner, he gave me everything. Recordings, photos, proof Chloe had ordered him to sabotage my cabin. My kid asked why I was breaking houses instead of fixing them. Jake said, eyes wet. That did it. We planned our counterattack, hit Chloe's fake authority first, then show her financial motives. We rallied, neighbors showed them the real documents. People were shocked. Mrs. Patterson nearly cried over roses she'd ripped out because Chloe said they were invasive. Folks realized they'd all been bullied and isolated, thinking they were alone. Even Jake's wife Lena found out the truth and backed him up. The whole scam unraveled. Chloe tried to stage one last meeting, polished and flashy to save face, but Jake stood up, laid out the evidence, and the room turned. Her motives exposed. Chloe snapped, screaming about slums and investment values. She stormed out, tried to burn my cabin to the ground, but the fire department arrived, caught her red-handed. The cops, the real estate board, everyone got involved. Chloe lost her license, got criminal charges, had to sell her houses at a loss. Her power was gone. Now the neighborhood is better than ever. People talking to each other, solving problems without threats. Dorothy leading community meetings. Jake's family is safe. Lena's working again. Their daughter's healthy. And my blue cabin still standing. Still blue. A symbol that sometimes you don't have to fight with fists, just with facts, friends, and a refusal to be bullied by fake authority. So what do you think Dorothy was about to reveal that night? And why did the power cut out at the meeting just as the truth was coming out? Let's hear your take in the comments, and if you've ever taken on a bully and won, I want to hear that story too. Hit like, subscribe, and don't let anyone tell you how to live in your own home. Sometimes fighting back is the only way to protect what matters.